Welcome to the Crooked Spine Show interview. I'm Dr. Tony. This is Megan Edge. Let's talk about how we heal our body naturally through nature and more things on top of that. We've all heard that different ways to heal the body and mind without medications and psychotherapy. My guest Megan Edge today will help us understand two topics: how nature provides our physical medicine along with emotional benefits, and topic number two, Megan's combination of counseling services, massage, tarot card readings, etc., to improve people's lives long term. And lastly, Megan brings this all together in her new book, The Heart's Journey: Healing Hearts Oracle Cards and Guidebook. This guidebook explains how our heart health is at the center of our wellness, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Let's get into it, Megan. That's what's going on. How are you?
Thank you so much, Tony. I'm doing really well, thank you. And how about yourself?
Not bad. Let's get off a little cracking back's neck as a chiropractor myself. Lunch break, but I did this when I did this. Looked at your book information. I really want to understand how that works more, nature's medicine, because it doesn't get brought up very much with your doctor. That's part of it too. So start with your youth. When you learn that Mother Nature provides natural healing medicine that gets and keeps us well, how did you learn that?
Well, Tony, I was really fortunate to grow up in a foraging family. And for somebody who may not have heard that word before, or may not be familiar with what that concept is, it's literally going out into wild spaces and harvesting food from those wild spaces. So in my case, when I was growing up, it was wild mushrooms. Every fall, we went out wild mushroom foraging. And in the springtime, it was fiddleheads, for example. It's a type of fern. And when they're furled up, you could eat them. They're delicious. Wild garlic was another thing that we used to forage. And in the summer months, it was berries. It was the raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, all of it. So I thought that was normal. Okay. And it wasn't until I became an adult and shared with other people what my upbringing was like that I began to appreciate that not everybody has that natural, innate connection to nature the way that I did and the way I was brought up.
And what location were you when you were a child, or also now?
I have lived all over Canada. This is where I'm from. Okay. I was born in Vancouver on the west coast of Canada, Vancouver, the Gulf Islands, and Victoria, which is where I now live. And then we did a huge leapfrog over to Montreal, and I spent 7 years growing up in Montreal, and then from Montreal to Toronto. And then from Toronto, I went off to university in Halifax, which is Nova Scotia. So that's over on the East Coast. Okay. And then eventually drove back across the country and put my feet down here in Victoria. And I've been here ever since.
It's amazing how you've had that whole experience in that Canadian and huge range. This is like going from East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast in the US. Phenomenal. And how have plants offered healing properties? And which plants offer them, and which plants have you learned over time to avoid in your life experiences?
Well, truly all plants have medicine of some kind or another. It's really up to us to learn what the benefits are of any given plant. And even a plant that is considered poisonous, for example, digitalis, if you eat too much of it or you have too much of it, it can stop your heart, can also be heart medicine when used appropriately. So it's more about dosing and how you incorporate plant medicine into your daily life or in response to some kind of a chronic or immediate situation that you're in, than it is what's poisonous and what's not poisonous. Now, I know that might get some pushback, but truly, I know that every plant out there has medicine in it. And I'm not the only one who knows that. I mean, if you look at cultures from around the world where ethnobiology is really the foundation and the basis of their medicine, that they know this to be true. We've just lost touch with that. We've lost sight of that, I believe.
Isn't it amazing how I want to call it pharmaceutical industry or big pharma in general, has kind of getting our focus away from Mother Nature, what really works for thousands of years, I want to say, to where now we require on a drug, a pill, a medication, a surgery to keep ourselves not even well, just not sick.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of years we've known this. I mean, nature is our pantry. It is our pharmacy. And without having to go into the whole history of the pharmaceutical industry, especially in the Western world, we know it's a money-driven, it's a profit-driven shareholder model. So there's not a lot of room in that model for true healing, deep and permanent healing, or even wellness and well-being, no matter how well-meaning any of the people who are involved in that particular model of medicine, may be coming at their work with. And these same pharmaceutical companies send people into the forest and into the rainforest and the jungles and the deserts and the oceans looking for that plant that has the history of being medicine, and then bringing that back to their laboratories and isolating the various components, and then finding a way to reproduce that component in a synthetic form that they then call medicine. And I don't think it takes an awful lot of smarts to recognize that there's a failing in that approach to wellness. And we see it all over North America. We see the damage that's being caused from this approach to medicine that leaves out the wholeness of the plant and leaves out the wholeness of the person as well.
It's almost like you're taking something that's very simple, Mother Nature, and then making it more complex to get a benefit that may actually have more risk than benefit based on medications you may be taking based on synthetic reproduction of that benefit.
Well, that's exactly it. And the way in which we have now compartmentalized our approach to the human body, where everything is a specialty, and the elbow doctor sure doesn't go to the, the conferences of the ear doctor or the knee doctor. They're all doing these separate things as if we're robots that can be dismantled and then put back together again in some form of wellness. And so let's say you've got a headache and you immediately go and you grab your Tylenol, which is doing incredible damage to your liver. And in and of itself is probably not the mechanism that's stopping the headache. It's probably the glass of water that you take that Tylenol with, because most headaches we know are from dehydration. And most people are chronically dehydrated because we're not drinking water, or the water we're drinking isn't healthy water. Right? It's not nourishing water.
And you mentioned something really, really important that I've heard the last 4 or 5 interviews I've done, is how medical approach is really compartmentalized to the elbow, the ear doctor, the eye doctor, versus like the overall person as a whole, their well-being physically, mentally, spiritually, and where are they, and how do you improve the whole picture, not just one portion of their life.
Exactly. And I think what we're seeing now, or at least what I'm seeing now, is that there are a lot of doctors who are coming to their senses and are recognizing the limitations of what they're able to do and offering true healing to their patients. And so they're looking for something outside of the mainstream medical. And maybe they're calling themselves functional doctors, or they're holistic. They're learning more about whole lifestyle as a way to help their patients heal, rather than just looking at the symptom of the disease and putting a Band-Aid on the symptom, instead of looking at the cause and asking the patient, how are you? What is going on in your life? Right? That doctors aren't allowed to ask that question any longer, at least not up here in Canada. Maybe it's different down in the US.
Yeah, it's not different here. It's not different in Norway. It's not different in Europe. I had a talk with a gentleman in Norway, and same thing. It's almost like you have 5 minutes with a patient, take care of the patient's symptom. That point, move on to patient number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, like you said, some doctors are willing to go, okay, I don't like how I'm practicing. I don't like how it makes me feel. How to actually treat people well, not just for symptoms, and to become functional medicine doctors, practitioners, nurses. I've had probably at least a dozen nurses on my show that have gone from traditional medicine nursing to functional medicine healthcare, and actually help people get well, because their blood work, medically, their blood work might be fine, but they're still sick. They don't feel well. They mentally, physically, they feel even suicidal sometimes. But doctor says, no, you're fine. You're good. Not so much.
That's right. We can't see anything, so therefore,
we're
if
good.
We can't answer the question, we're not going to address the question.
Common sense.
And I have a lot of personal experience with all of this, as well as the clients that I advocate for in the medical system, right? To understand, help them understand what medications they are taking, why they have been given those medications, and what the interactions of those medications are with one another, and what the side effects are of those medications. And I actually had a doctor say to me, "Oh, don't worry about the side effects. They just have to put that in the insert."
Isn't that a form of malpractice? That's a form of malpractice, I think.
I think it should be, but in Canada, we can't sue our doctors.
Oh.
We're
I
not
think
allowed
we
to.
can, but most people don't. But you're taking someone that may have a physical labor job, a job that doesn't require them to have a medical background, and telling them take this pill for your headache, but you don't tell them what the side effects might be. Look for this, 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 and this, or your blood work shows this, so be careful of this. It's almost a crapshoot every time you take a medication.
It is. And once you start seeing specialist after specialist after specialist, and none of those specialists are talking to one another, they're all prescribing you medications for what they think the problem is. And it's usually going to be related to their specialty. And now you've got people who are so chronically over medicated. And now they present with more and more symptoms as a result of the chronic over medication. So now you're on a spinning wheel, and it's not easy to get off if you don't have the knowledge, the wherewithal to find the information, because if you're all, drugged up, you don't necessarily have that ability to do that. Or someone in your life who's checking in on you and says, wait a minute, this behavior is not normal, right? Or this feeling you're having is not normal, or this physical symptom is not normal. We need to ask about this. And I've gone blue in the face on various occasions, trying to get the medical doctor to see what it is that's happening with these interactions and these over medications. And I succeed eventually, but it can take a long time.
You just gotta browbeat them till they're done.
Yeah. And then I often get, well, but you're not a doctor.
Perfect.
Well,
I love it. And
right.
I'm not a doctor, and I still understand this information better than you do. What does that say?
Right. And I can go to the same websites you go to, and I can look at the interactions, and I know my patient, I know my client, I know my family member. I'm actually the expert here on them, right?
It humbles them sometimes, and sometimes, especially with guys, it's the ego gets involved more than an education. And as you've probably seen too, it's something to where I wish more people understood. I always ask my patients, were you treated like you were the doctor's family member, or like just a person on the street? How personal was it versus just, here's the meds, boom, go, don't ask any questions? And here, at least you can always change your doctors here. Can you do that in Canada, or do you have to stick to the same doctor every time?
It's very difficult to change doctors here in Canada. We have a shortage of doctors. You're lucky if you have a doctor. Lots of people don't. And then they're stuck in this revolving door of going to a clinic or going to the ER, the emergency room, when they don't have an emergency situation. And we're in a very long-term, very predictable crisis in our medical system here in Canada.
They go more they're getting healthcare more out of desperation than just trying to stay healthy.
Well, that's exactly it. And no one is given sovereignty or autonomy over their medical choices anymore. We're not taught to do that. And there is a very real syndrome called the white coat syndrome, which is basically once you see that white coat and that stethoscope, and you're like deer in the headlights. What was I going to say? What was I going to ask?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I'll do what you say. It's unfortunate, but it's a very true syndrome. And this isn't to be bashing doctors and nurses and other healthcare providers who are working within the system. There's some amazingly fantastic, wonderful people that I have met and come across that I've been cared for by, and that my clients have been cared for by. But there is still an underlying, I don't know, almost like fanatical belief system in pharmaceuticals and injections and other things like that, that belie the ability to say, what else is there? What else can I do?
It almost takes a crisis sometimes to change the social norm of what people expect to be normal medicine. And until it may take a while, but at least we're here putting a voice out there, giving people a different alternative that can help them get to the next level of health and then progress from there. Switching topics, Megan, to your healing services, what is your approach to helping a person through your counseling, through your guidance? How would you present that?
The very first thing that we do, the first piece that we work on, is the story as the person is telling it and as they have been telling it up to this moment. It's to honor the way in which they're speaking about their life experiences, their belief, their core limiting beliefs, all of that, their faith, whatever it is, and listening to the language that they're using. So I listen to the wording of how they're telling that story, because that knowledge that I gain from knowing those words and understanding it gives me insight into where they're coming from. like how they're showing up in the world from this belief that they're carrying about themselves and their health and their wellness, whether it's mental health, whether it's grieving, whether it's physical health that they're working with. We need to heal the relationship that they have with the story they're telling themselves first, or nothing that we do is going to create deep and permanent healing. And even just that step of helping someone see how they're talking about themselves can profoundly change somebody's relationship with their physical body as well as their emotional body. And once we have that understanding of where they're coming from, why they've been telling the story they've been telling it, and then I give them, ways in which they can change that languaging and create a new relationship with the bigger picture of their story, then and only at that point can we start looking at how do we want to support the person's physical and emotional and energetic well-being through belief changing, through the different kinds of modalities that I work with, and through things like essential oils or plant medicines or supplements or food as medicine, looking at their diet. Nice. So it becomes a holistic, a whole list of holistic approaches to their overall healing. And from that approach, I've seen time and time again, my clients move into a new relationship with themselves. And that's what creates the deep and permanent healing, so that they can tell their story without being triggered into whatever that PSD might have been. And instead, they just recognize that that's an experience they had in their life. And that's it. It's not anything that defines them or controls them, because we've changed that fundamental relationship that they have.
When you first evaluate someone, do you listen to their tone of voice, the words they use, their mannerisms also?
Yes, absolutely. Oftentimes when people first start telling their story, their body's like this, and for the people who are hearing this and not seeing it, I'm all contorted. I'm tight. My shoulders are up around my ears.
Yeah.
Very defensive. That's right. Or just the way that they are in their body. If they're carrying extra weight, for example, around their lower gut, that's information for me about how they are protecting themselves, the things that they have had to do throughout their lives to maintain their safety. These are all coping mechanisms. So if somebody comes to me and says, I want to lose weight, I don't think I'm healthy with this weight I'm at, we're going to first look at where that weight came from.
There we go.
Why was the weight? Why did the body put the weight on, and what was it protecting you from? How was it keeping you safe? And then we acknowledge how amazing the body is for doing that in the first place, right?
When you're linking their body changes, maybe mind, body, spirit, whatever it might be, to where their physical appearance have happened, and what part of their story may have linked to that same event, that same timetable.
Exactly. And we go far back. We go deep into childhood. We go into prenatal, or we go into natal, and then we go into prenatal. And then that's where we can do some of that work as well, with potentially other lifetime experiences and memories that the soul has carried forward into this particular lifetime, because this is the lifetime in which those habits or those experiences or whatever they are can be addressed with what we know now and where the person is in their soul's journey. So it really is that mind, body, and soul combination, which is what I call the work I do. And it's how I certify other healers as mind, body, and soul healers.
And when someone goes through your process, we'll go over treatments in a minute too. How do they respond at, not toward the end, but like, wow, I really changed because now I feel this, or I understand maybe not this lifetime, but my previous lifetime may have been part of this. How do they verbalize that?
Well, in lots of different ways. And sometimes there aren't words.
Okay.
There aren't words because we don't have them in the English language to describe our feelings particularly well. There may not be words because what we're working with is pre-verbal. And in that case, it's the body. The body responds. If a person's been holding on to a shock from a traumatic experience from the age of 3, and now they're in their 70s, and we find that traumatic memory and we release it from the body using energy work, using visualization, using all kinds of different things, could be essential oils, whatever it is, the body releases that trauma, and that person will actually go into a physical manifestation of the shock. They will shake, they will tremble, they might have no words, no sound even coming out of them, but the body is doing the releasing, because we've finally been able to create a safe space in which the monkey mind can get out of the way and allow the body to have that healing moment.
It's amazing when someone goes through that, and how do they feel afterwards? How would they explain that emotion or the physicality of what they would experience?
We often completely drained. They're like a noodle, like a noodle on the table. It can take 10, 15, 20 minutes even for somebody to come back into the body, to let all of that move out through the body. And I've had that personal experience myself as well. It's how I know what it is that's happening when this is going on in the body. I often recommend, I say, just take it easy. Don't try to drive your car right now. Don't get into
heavy machinery. No heavy machinery.
No heavy machinery. Go down to the water if you can. Sit in the sun for a few hours. And then over the next few days to weeks, other things are going to show up. Other things are going to now be able to move through the body.
Layers. Okay.
Exactly, because of the layers. And we don't even have to know what it is that the body's releasing. But I do encourage my client to trust that process. And so if they suddenly feel elated, oh my God, I've never felt so happy, great, go with that. But also know that you're probably going to feel incredibly sad and really deep grief too, if that's one of the layers. And then as they come out of that process, and we might do that process 2 or 3 or 4 times, depending on how much is being held in the body, it's as if they don't recognize themselves. Right? The person that they were, the way they showed up in the world with all of that protectiveness it's not there anymore. And so they tend to feel taller. People tell me, I feel taller. I feel lighter. Hey, I'm actually lighter. Where did the weight go? The weight is gone now, right? Because they now have tools that they've learned through the work that they've done with me to maintain that new view of themselves and of the world around them. And there's no going back. You cannot physically, mentally, emotionally go back to what you were before you do this process.
It's almost you detoxed your whole body, spiritually, physically, mentally, and now you know habits, how to stay here. That is a better, healthier, higher level of being a human, I guess. You want to maintain that routine, that state.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I have to remind people of is that there will be people in their lives, family or friends or coworkers, who are not going to like the new vibration that this person is showing up in.
Okay.
And so some of those relationships are going to fade naturally because the person's in a new vibration. And that opens up space for new vibration to come in. People who are on a similar path or trajectory. And that piece of it can be painful, but most people recognize pretty quickly that those weren't healthy relationships in the first place.
They're keeping them in that state of just not being. This is why they came to see you. They want help.
Exactly.
They wanted help. And walk me through your services too. I went through your website. I like everything you're doing. You mentioned helping someone once you understand their, evaluate them and where they are before they see you. Then you provide different services to get them to that better, healthier, higher vibration state. Walk me through your services, your intuitive counseling, and everything else you do.
Sure. There's a lot.
I do. More on my list, yeah.
I believe in having a robust toolbox, a robust healing toolbox.
Everyone's person is different. There are different levels what they need. So why not provide everything that they would need and then pick and choose what works for them?
Absolutely. It's like creating a tapestry or creating a quilt. It's all these different pieces that we bring together in order to then have this beautiful creation, which is this person in their highest well-being, whatever that looks like for them. So yes, there's the intuitive counseling. And by intuitive counseling, I mean, I'm tapping into my intuition, all the things that I've learned and I know and that I've observed and that I intuit, and bringing that to the conversation. So I have this capacity to see the bigger picture and connect dots that the other person may not be able to do because they're so in their life. They're so focused in on this is my life. Yeah. So they're not seeing those connections. The energetics. So when I say mind, body, and soul healing, mind is the story. Mind is what we're telling ourselves. It's the limiting beliefs or the unlimiting beliefs, depending. It's our experiences and the way in which we think about them. That's the mind. Body is when we work with the physicalness of the body, both energetically and physically, right? So that's the energy healing, that's the massage, that's working with the lymphatic system, working with the central nervous system, doing the fascia work, all the places and the ways in which the body can hang on to these emotional experiences or energetic experiences and beliefs. That's the working with the body piece. And then the soul is where we are moving into more of a spiritual conversation about what is the meaning of your life? What do you believe you came here to do, to be of service, to help or not, or whatever, what is that path? What is the soul wanting? And that presupposes a belief in the soul, right? Which is why we don't start with that. We don't start there. We start with the story, and then we move through the story, the body, the way the body holds the story. And then from there, we move into the soul, which is the more of the spiritual conversation about what you believe to be true about yourself, your life path, your purpose, and God, Goddess, Yahweh, Spaghetti Monster, whichever one it is that you talk to.
That guy up there, whatever it is, or girl. But it's almost like, if we believe this is not our only time in space, okay, then how do we get to the next level and understand our past might be helping us or hurting us? You're allowing that whole process to develop for them that they've never heard of before, and now get to a better state where they can maintain that higher vibration and maintain it on their own.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, you just summed it up.
Yeah. All right. That's all I had in my head. It's called good ice water. Good ice water helps me think better.
But of course, as you pointed out too, Tony, it's nuanced for each individual. I meet them where they're at. And I hear a lot of healers say that, I meet them where they're at. But I truly do. And I see them in their wholeness when I first meet them or interact with them, or even they send me an email or whatever it is. I see them where they are. People will walk into the healing space that I've created, and before we even start talking, they're already crying. And they're saying, "I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me." I said, "There's nothing wrong with you.
I haven't even done anything. You've already got me.
This is what we want to have happen. I know I'm doing good work when someone starts crying."
Your treatments come with a box of tissue. Congratulations.
Oh, they do. Yes. I have lots of boxes of tissues. Yes. Yeah.
When you connect with someone, you're focused on their healing. We all got to pay the bills. You have to do we have our normal life stresses, whatever it is. But when you open the email, you talk to them. You're like, I want to be with you then, to make sure I'm helping you get through step one, even before we discuss what's going on.
Yes, that's exactly it. And what I remind people is that they are their best expert. I don't know anything that they don't already know on some level. They've just not remembered, or they haven't been taught to recognize their own brilliance, their own wisdom, their own intuition, that it's been beaten out of them, literally, in some cases. And
it's in their subconscious somewhere. They don't know. They can't pull that file cabinet up or that file up yet.
That's right. And so often the process is about helping them remember that they can be whole. They can be a whole human being. They can enjoy being a human being.
That's I mean, it's something. And getting into your book too, the Heart's Journey, Healing Hearts Oracle Cards Guidebook. What inspired you to write the book? We're gonna take a picture of the book afterwards too together. Perfect.
Yeah.
But what inspired you to write this book, based on your knowledge, based on experiences, based on what people wanted?
When I realized that the marriage I thought I was in was in fact not a healthy marriage, a healthy relationship, and began the long and very painful process of recognizing that and having to figure out what wasn't working, why it wasn't working, and could it be healed. I literally said to the universe, show me a sign, send me a symbol, something, anything that when I see it, I will recognize it as being a reminder that I'm following my heart above all other voices, and I'm walking in as much integrity as I can with these choices I know I'm going to have to make eventually. And the universe, just to anthropomorphize it a little bit, has a great sense of humor and said, here you go. We're going to start showing you hearts. And these are going to be hearts, clouds in the shape of hearts. It's going to be, you know, a burl on a tree in the shape of a heart. It's going to be a rock in the shape of a heart. And I started to take photographs of these hearts as I found them, because they were so amazing. It was almost unbelievable, except that I was already doing a lot of this work in terms of metaphysics and spiritual realms. So it wasn't entirely unbelievable that that's what was showing up. But I wasn't showing them to anybody. I just kept them for myself. And when I did eventually step out of that marriage and set up myself and my daughters in a new home, I also had to take my healing practice and make it something that was going to sustain us, that was going to support us financially. And somebody said to me, you got to get on Facebook. I was like, I'm not going anywhere near Facebook.
What year was this ish? What year-ish?
This would have been 2009, 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's still early Facebook. YouTube was around, but I and no Instagram yet, no TikTok, obviously, but it was like YouTube, and then Facebook was coming around. Got it. Okay.
Well, MySpace was what had existed before, and then Facebook started to come out. But one of the reasons I wasn't on Facebook is because my then husband had said to me, sweetheart, you don't need to go on Facebook. All of our friends are the same. You let me take care of all of that, and you just look after the kids. And I thought, okay, that seems reasonable.
A homemaker, I'll take care of it. Yeah.
I didn't understand or appreciate that he was connecting with some of his former girlfriends, lovers, whatever, people he had crushes on. He was finding them through Facebook and reconnecting with them, which is why he didn't want me on Facebook. Anyways, I share that story and in the book, and actually part of why I wrote the book.
You're one of probably 10 million people who have gone through the same.
Yeah.
Deception. Yeah. I don't know. Deception. I don't know.
There's a little bit of a twist, but I don't want to give it the ending away. So
got it.
Hoping when people have it in their hands, they can read that story and relate to it.
And
anyways, what I was told by some of my clients is get yourself on Facebook and start sharing about the work you're doing.
Good.
And especially these photographs of these hearts you're finding, you need to start sharing them on Facebook. And the response was so incredible that it occurred to me that maybe I could do something more with these heart images. And that's where the genesis of the Oracle cards came from, because I had also worked for many years with Oracle cards and tarot cards as a healing tool, as a meditation tool, and as a way of seeking guidance and focus for people. And I thought, well, these would make really great Oracle cards. We'll have a picture of the heart on the front, and on the back there'll be a message, and it'll be great. And then I heard, and you have to share your story. And I went, no. What do you mean? My story of my leaving my marriage with my children in tow, leaving my husband, being the one to make that choice, and then actually doing it. I don't think anyone wants to hear that story.
Just turn that knife just like sideways, you know?
Turns out that, yes, actually a lot of people wanted to hear that story. And when I finally wrote it and then I published it, I realized it's not my story anymore. Now it's going to go out in the world and people will judge it in whatever way they do. And it's not my business how it lands for other people.
Good.
But what's beautiful is how many people have reached out to me over the years to say, thank you for writing that story. Thank you for sharing. It gave me courage. I realized I wasn't alone. I realized I wasn't the only one going through this. I love how you moved through it. All of that. So it had to be done. It had to be done. These stories are so important.
You're putting someone on your back and going, hey, here's my story. Use the way I've gotten through this to get yourself through your situation. Maybe a relationship issue, maybe something else you're going through. It can probably go to different fields, not just relationship, but also giving someone, I want to say, a perception of how to see the world and get through this world, whatever your life obstacles might be.
Absolutely. And this is where my term story holder comes from, because I realized and recognized that yes, I'm a storyteller, and also I hold other people's stories and I hold them sacred. And then we heal the relationship with them, and I give them new ways in which they can relate to these stories. And that's through the languaging and the wording that we were talking about earlier. So as a story holder, I felt it was really important that I walked my talk. So I wrote my story and I gave it to the world and said, here you go, do with it what you will. Either find inspiration or be upset or whatever. It doesn't, it's whatever comes for you, whatever your experience of that story is. And this was a really important part of my own healing when I understood that what somebody else thinks of me is none of my damn business.
There you go. It's amazing when you have that confidence that I'm going to call objectivity is probably the wrong word, that here's what I want you to see. If you like it, great. If not, well, it's not going to affect me by what I'm sharing in the world.
Well, exactly. And it's that understanding that how somebody receives me as a human being or my work or what I do or whatever it is coming through their life experience. It's coming through their filters. It's coming through their beliefs. If somebody believes that it's a sin to leave an unhealthy marriage and they see that I did that, well, then they may think of me as a sinner. But that doesn't change who I am. And how somebody thinks of me is not a definition of who I am as a human being.
Huge.
Yes, that is huge. And most people are walking around in judgment of themselves and everybody else. And the funny thing is, I mean, the ironic thing is that 90% of the time, nobody's actually thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves.
Nobody cares.
They're wondering what you're thinking about them.
Nobody cares. I grew up in Los Angeles. Nobody really cares out there. No, they have no idea. Even you're next to them, they have no idea.
Right. And so how much pressure do we put on ourselves about what other people are thinking of us? And they're actually not even thinking of us.
No, it's like you said, you're helping someone understand, wow, people are like me. I'm not just someone out there for one too. Mm-hmm. And walking through the Oracle cards, explain some of the Oracle cards and how they're different and how they're the same and how they work.
Sure. So Oracle cards and Tarot cards are often talked about in the same conversation. They are actually different in terms of the way in which they approach the messaging that is on them. So Tarot has a very long history. Some people believe it goes back as far as the Egyptians, probably even before then. And it's the story of a person's life from the hermit all the way, from the fool all the way to the hermit, and all the people that fool meets along the way as he or she goes through their lives. There's always the same number of cards in a deck of tarot cards. There's always the same number of suits. And in fact, our playing cards are a part of the tarot history. That's where those playing cards come from. And so each tarot card is going to have the same symbol on it for what that card is. Now, it may be interpreted differently, and there's hundreds of thousands of different themes of tarot cards out in the world now. It's quite amazing. But they're all going to have that same structure. Oracle cards, on the other hand, are a more free-flowing, organic way of connecting in with your intuition or whatever it is that you're doing it for, or meditation or whatnot. So it's the sky's the limit. Any number of cards, any number of themes, any number of shapes, messaging, all of that. I like working with both because the organics of an oracle card can be really helpful when a person is really needing to be unfettered. But there's places in the healing journey where we need structure. And so the tarot can provide the structure and the familiarity of those symbols, because these are universal symbols. The symbol of the sun, for example, every culture has a connection and relationship with the sun. So that's going to be something that everyone is going to recognize. I thought about doing a tarot deck, and then I just knew that wasn't the direction that I wanted to go in. So
this is Megan's Oracle cards, correct? It's something to where you put someone in, I want a category, but at that point, then these cards, different cards that you've developed now, get them uniquely as a person for their situation, for their life, for their past life, future life, whatever it might be.
That's right. And each card is a story. Each card is a story of what I was going through in the moment that I saw that heart, and why that heart was important to me, and why I took a picture of it, So each one is also something I've experienced. So it's very personal. And then it's also very, I don't know what's the right word, worldly, because we all have similar experiences. We just go through them differently, right? And the idea is that you use these cards as a meditation tool, or as a way to connect to your higher self, or your spirit guides or angels, or whatever you believe is around you, or just simply asking, what does my heart need today? Right. And then if you ask that question, I mean, so for example, I'm just shuffling the cards. I'm not a card shark. I just do it like this.
Sure, you're not, Megan.
No, I'm really not. If I try to shuffle a deck of cards, they're going to fly all over the place.
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea.
So in asking the question, what does my heart need today? This is the card that was pulled. And what this is a log in my fireplace. And I looked up at the fire and there was this log shaped like a heart. It was so beautiful. And the message on the back of the card says, fire invokes images of nights and days of passion, of the complete joy in your body and soul, united within the body and soul of another, of all your needs being exceeded, pushed to your limits in physical craving. Challenge what you think is possible in passion. So when you receive that message, there's lots of different ways that you can work with it. It could be that you just need to really ignite your sex life, right? You got to try something new or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Connect with yourself in some way that's sensual, or bring sensuality into your life, or bring passion into your life. What are you passionate about that you aren't following, right? And so there's lots of different ways that you work with it. And then you just take that message into your day and see what shows up for you. Like, that's one of the simplest ways to work with the Oracle cards. And then there's more in-depth, complex ways. There's different spreads that you can work with. But I find that just that one card pull is often enough. It's like that hit.
You pull it once a day then, or how often you pull the cards?
It depends on it depends on what's going on. I mean, right now, everything is going great. I'm in good health. Things are happening around me. My work is reaching a lot of people, which has always been my goal. So I'm not pulling a card every day. But let's say I wanted to know, is this in my heart's highest good to take on another project? And the card I pulled is called Joined at the Heart, which is that you are helpmates balancing all the demands of this life and holding space for a loving relationship within it. So apparently the answer is yes. I have room to take on another project.
It's almost like you're putting it out the universe. I want to say universe. What can I do more of, or what do I need help with? And seeing it, like you said, even though the card may have one message on there, how do you interpret that message for you in your life, in your situation?
Yep, exactly. And frankly, I've been working with Oracle cards now for 40 odd years. I picked up my first deck of Oracle cards when I was in my teens.
Wow.
I have never in all of that time had an Oracle card reading that wasn't spot on. And you can't make that up. And when I teach people how to work with Oracle cards, it's the same thing. They're like, how does it know? How does the deck know that that's what I needed to hear? It's like, well, I don't know, divinely guided, or energy comes out and energy goes in. And also because you already knew the answer and you just needed to be reminded.
It's all up there already. It's almost like the file cabinet, that file opened up for you.
Exactly. In the reminding of it. And I also do believe that there are energies around us, that we have our own energy field and we interact with other people's energy fields. And that's not just a belief. There's science, whatever research shows it. We can read that.
Energy, everything.
Yeah. That's right. We can read that. So then there's no reason to believe, at least in my mind, that there aren't other energies around us who are looking out for us in some way or another. And so if I'm being completely daft and I'm not listening to my higher self and I'm not seeing all the signs around me, these energies might sort of push me a little bit, give me a nudge, put somebody in front of me or put a message in front of me that I can't ignore. Right? Because
once you know your person, you almost like you understand, I don't feel all right now, maybe spiritual, mental, or physical. What's going on in my body? What am I missing that I'm not seeing in front of my face right now? So
yes, that's right. And the doctrine of signatures, we apply that to plants and other things in nature. The doctrine of signatures is that if something looks like a body part, it's probably good for that body part. Mm-hmm. So walnuts look like little brains. And it turns out when we study walnuts, we learn that some of the constituents in walnuts are really good for the brain health,
Perfect.
You can do the same thing, the doctrine of signatures, in the symbols that are around you. Right. So let's say what you crave more than anything else in the world is freedom. And you start seeing eagles, and eagles to you are a symbol of freedom. or hawks or
Got it.
whatever it is. You start to see those symbols. There's some kind of a synergy going on between you and the world around you, where those symbols are validating what you already know to be true.
Got it.
They're giving you that, oh, right, okay, that's what's really going on. And honestly, walking through the world with an eye to what is my environment trying to tell me is a lot more interesting than just walking down the street with your blinders on and looking at the sidewalk. So why not? Right?
It's opening your mind to different ideas that can help you stay healthy, just in general as a normal person. Does your book help teach someone how to do that on their own, or is it more how do they use the book?
Right. So the book, actually, the whole thing is a box set.
Wow. Okay.
It comes in a hard box, and inside the box you get the guidebook. So this is the guidebook, and this is where I share my story, my personal story about leaving that marriage and why these hearts came to me. And then I teach you how to work with the oracle cards. I give you a number of different spreads, different ways that you can work with them. So you do get some teaching in there. And then you can also go to my YouTube channel, and I've got workshops that I've done, live workshops that are all there available for people to learn more about how to work with them. Or they could just ask me. That would work too.
Yeah.
And then each of the cards has its own page. And so there's the message on the back of the card. But then if you go into the guidebook, there's a deeper message, a deeper meaning, and a little bit more of the personal story about what was going on for me at the time. And then there's this beautiful journal. So it's a full toolkit. You heard me say earlier, I love having a full toolkit. This is the full toolkit for your heart's health and wellness, right? So your journal, you can write in whatever your card pulls were and what your insights were from that moment, or your shopping list, or whatever it is that you want to do. And then the cards come in this little box of their own. There's 42 of them, full color cards. And you also get the bookmark.
Perfect.
And the beautiful pen. So you have everything you need in the box set. You could plunk it into your tote bag and take it with you to the park and sit under the tree and be in nature's medicine and pull a heart card and journal and allow your own insights for what you need most in the world to come to you. Wow. That's how that works.
You're missing something in your toolbox, though, or your toolkit. Do you have any tissue or things like that? Or
when I do the next run, that's a great idea.
It's a discount code somewhere. Discount on Amazon, I don't know. Isn't that big? I'll call Kleenex for you, have them sponsor you, and
that would be great.
Or something.
Yeah, we can have them monogrammed.
It'll be tears of joy too, not just tears of sadness, tears of joy also.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And I love that you said that, because a lot of people feel intimidated around the idea of a healing journey because they don't want to be so sad about things. And it's not all that it is. There's incredible joy that we experience in this life, or at least is our birthright to experience. And when we can tap into that unbridled joy, oh my goodness, we can heal faster in that moment when we tap into unbridled joy and love than slogging through the story. And I have had a lot of clients say to me, but I don't want to tell my story again. I've told it so many times. I've told it to the psychiatrist and the psychologist and the counselor and the psychotherapist. And none of the telling of that story made any difference. And I said, that's because they didn't listen properly to how you were telling the story. Let's try it one more time and see where we go.
And how does your feedback, I guess, be different than, you already told me already, but than someone then as a psychologist or a medical doctor or a therapist? How would your feedback be to someone telling their story, I guess, mindset or tone or whatever it would be, than someone who's the medical approach?
I think the best way to answer that is to go back to that holistic approach. I'm looking for the way into their story when they're telling me their story. I'm looking for the chink in their armor. I'm not just taking notes. In fact, I don't take notes. I'm not just writing it down and saying, okay, right, so on this day this happened, and on that day that happened, and then this happened. Right? Okay, now here's a pill to help you with your PTSD. That's not what I'm doing. I'm listening for the nuances so that I can come in and say, hey, wait, stop for a moment. Listen to what you just said and how you said it. What do you think that does Like, what do you think that sets up in your mind or in your body when you say it like that, you know? And it's coming from a place of complete non-judgment, absolute non-judgment. Your story is your story. There's nothing wrong with it. There may be some things that we want to heal in the relationship with it, but the story itself, there's nothing wrong with it. Right?
Good.
So the healing comes from that rather than just the telling of the story. It's the interaction. And also because, I mean, I think in some ways I'm privileged in that I am not part of, or I don't have to be part of a college of such and such. Right? There is no college of intuitive healers in Canada. There's no college of energy healers in Canada. So far, we are able to work with our clients in the way that best suits the client, as opposed to the way that best suits the college. And so I can have a different kind of conversation with my clients, appropriately, of course, than perhaps somebody who is under the umbrella of the college of psychologists can have. I have more liberties.
I'd approach that too as almost like there's not a regulating body telling you what to do and how to teach and conform to a standard, or a governmental agency doing the same thing. You have the freedom to give them a different approach than someone who went through that.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Different, and hopefully different and better results. Boom.
That seems to be the case for a lot of people. By the time they come to me, they're so exhausted, and they said, I've seen everybody and I've tried everything.
Yeah.
Please let this be different. And it is. And it is. And I'm always respectful, absolutely. But I get to sit next to them on the sofa and put my arm around them if that's what they need me to do, with their permission.
Good.
And some people, some psychologists, that you can't. You're not allowed to do that. You can't have that kind of interaction.
Yeah, I think you've have a career, a passion that most people wish they had. Obviously, it takes a lot of energy out of you too. That would not want to drain you, but you feel like, okay, I've done the work and I've helped someone else do the work. Now, how do you take that off your back end of the day? Just my own. This is off the topic. Just my own question.
Yeah, no, I love that question, because I get that a lot. People ask me a lot, and often it's clients after a really big, huge reveal where they're now limp as a noodle, and they go, "You must be so tired." I'm not tired. I'm energized by the work that I do, and I'm fortunate in that, because I've done so much work around boundaries. Mm-hmm. I understand about energy and taking on other people's energies because of my own experiences with it. When I was in university, I was doing social work. I was doing women's studies. I wanted to be a counselor, a therapist for women who had survived sexual assault. That's pretty heavy stuff. I worked on a crisis line for a year, and I realized I was too young and inexperienced, and I hadn't done enough of my own work to be able to show up efficiently for other people without taking on their story. And so I set about to learn, how do I not take on someone else's story as my own? And I did learn how not to take on someone else's story as my own. And because I can return their story to them at the end of a session, so they can do the work with it, which is what they need to do in between sessions. It's their story, it's not mine. I'm able to maintain my energy levels. And it's what I teach my healers how to do as part of the Confident Healer certification course that I have, is how do you maintain yourself? Now, having said that, a few years ago, when the world imploded, and I lost my father right before that happened, and then a number of other really significant people and then places, I got to a point where I realized, oh, hang on, I am taking on someone else. I am taking on their stories. Not only am I taking on their stories, but I'm feeling a little frustrated with their inability to heal like that. And I don't want to hear their stories.
Yesterday you're supposed to heal, not today.
And I recognized that I had allowed myself to be burnt out, that I hadn't taken the time that I needed to work with my own grief for the losses that I was experiencing and that my family was experiencing. And so once again, I walked my talk, and I took myself away from everything and everybody that I had worked so hard to build, the clients and the students and all of that. And I took myself off social media, and I shut my door for almost 2 years. Wow. While I focused on what needed to heal here for me, right? Like that was right in front of me, because I don't want to ever not be of service when I'm ready to say I'm here to be of service, because
go.
that's not fair to the people who are coming to me if I can't be present for them.
Integrity.
So that self-care piece is just so vital. Yeah.
Integrity. It's almost like you saw that, okay, I'm not feeling the way I should be feeling. And again, 2 years is 2 years. People think that's a lifetime. Maybe not. But can you come back now like you have and help more people in a better space as we've gone through the interview? Obviously you have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a bandwidth issue. You know, if we don't have the bandwidth to help somebody else, we're not helping them or ourselves if we try to help them without that bandwidth there, because the healing isn't going to be permanent or deep at that point.
No,
right.
No. And as we wrap the show, anything I missed that you want to talk about?
Did we talk? We talked a little bit about nature as medicine, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that was the beginning of it. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Just a reminder for people to go outside. Go outside every day, at least.
These fluorescent lights are giving me enough vitamin D, right? The fluorescent lights above my head.
Oh, yeah. You're good. You're good under those fluorescent lights.
Yeah.
You don't need to go outside. No. And recognize that you do have health sovereignty, and absolutely, ultimately, at the end of the day, you are the only one who is responsible for your health and well-being.
Good.
If you give it away to someone else, they are not going to be able to do it for you. It's got to be you.
Be accountable.
Be you. Yeah.
Be accountable. I have all your links in the show notes. I have your email, your phone number, website, social media links, YouTube, blog. Obviously, a link to actually purchase the book too on Amazon, correct? Or through your website, or both?
I believe that I sent you a link, or there was a link in the publicity package, and there's a discount code on that link.
So your 9.75 cents or dollars off. Is that US dollars or Canadian dollars?
That's US dollars.
Okay. I don't know. Just my own little.
I think. I think
Who knows?
I don't know what happens. It gets transferred.
I think the book's going to give people an idea how to heal themselves at a certain level, obviously, but also more importantly, how to maintain that healing when the day hits them.
Yes, because just because you've done your healing journey doesn't mean it's finished. And life is life's still going to throw stuff at you, but you'll have resilience that you might not have had before.
Yes.
Right. And you'll have tools and skills and ways of moving through that experience that are more supportive of you as a human being than you might have had before. And so you don't fall into it as much. You don't fall into it as hard. You have a better way to navigate than you did before.
And I apologize for going over our time limit, if there was a time limit for a say, but thank you for the information you've shared. I learned a lot of how your Oracle cards are going to help people and get them to live a happier, healthier life now and in the future.
Yes, absolutely.
Quick picture with the toolkit again, too. One more time, quick picture and a smile. Good. We're done with the show. Hang out for 1 second. Thanks for watching, guys. Give me 1 second.
Thank you, everyone.